Hi, my name is Alfie Frederick, and today I'm going to briefly summarize my presentation. In the very beginning, Dr. Tran and I wanted to go ahead and do Cumberland County, but we ran into a couple of problems. There just wasn't enough data, and the data that I did find were either not to scale, it would have been hard to geo-reference them, and there were large gaps in between years. So I found out that there were a lot of Fayetteville maps that we could use, and we went ahead and changed the thesis of it. We wanted to go ahead and focus on Fayetteville instead by collecting the historical land use data for that. So I went back onto the internet and found a couple of maps. Actually, a couple meaning 111 maps ranging from 1628 to 1980. Once again, problems in scaling, and some of them were actually segmented. So I looked locally, went to a couple of museums, ended up at City Hall, met with Craig Allen. He gave me about 130 maps. Thank you, sir. And the one that I chose was the 1825 map because it actually shows both of the townships in the creation of Fayetteville, and the map was very easy to read. You can definitely see that this is a road, this is Russell Street. Dr. Tran asked me, are the roads straight? And lo and behold, yes, the roads are straight. This is the 1825 map laid over Google Maps, and through the transparency, you can actually see the grid formation. The reason why they did that is because back then there was no GPS. It was the easiest just to tell somebody to go straight and turn left in a straight line. Now let's go into the metadata. This is actually the Cumberland County All Roads 2017, the Fayetteville Annex information showing the growth of Fayetteville, and that was very helpful in me actually doing my research, because when I started doing the digitizing, I wanted to make sure that I was actually drawing the roads correctly. And by doing that, I can always reference to the 2017, which is the blue line that you see here. It wasn't the accuracy of laying it on top, but actually mapping what I saw. That's why you're actually seeing the difference of this. Another thing that I need to make sure is those hard copies, those paper maps. When you are using something on the internet, you have pixelation, so it's very difficult for me to understand, is this an M or an H? Having those paper maps let me know that when I'm labeling these roads that the spelling is correct. And I had a choice. Do I make multiple layers for each year, or do I just do everything on one layer and just have columns for the years? This is just an example what I did. So zeros if the rows weren't present, ones if they were, and if there were type of any row closures, I identified them. And this is just what the growth of Fayetteville actually looks like. We started down here, and it actually spread westward. Funny thing is that Fort Bragg is up here, and I'll discuss that later on. But this is just the annex information, the growth of Fayetteville, and let me tell you, Fayetteville is the way that it is because of annexation. Main concerns: georeferencing. Yes. Overlaying. This is actually the 29 with the 41 on top. Even though you have the same cartographers, the way that they scale them, you're gonna have skewing and stretching the further you go out towards the center, and that actually let me know which cartographers that I needed. So I had to redo the 1941 map just to make sure that the continuity of it would have been good for later on with my other maps. Road closers, again, you can be seen. I made sure, because I was doing all in one layer, I needed to go and identify what roads close when, and I did that by color. Let's go ahead and move on into the results very quickly. Like I said before, um, they used plank roads all the way until the 1930s, and I hate to say it, but Fayetteville really didn't get into the railroad systems until around World War One. This is actually how they got around. You can see the development here in this picture. This is actually downtown Fayetteville, and where they actually put the railroad systems. Why did the military pick Fayetteville? Very easy. Lack of clay in the soil, meaning when it rains, didn't things didn't get that muddy. And this is what it looked like. We're gonna move on very quickly. It was the Great Depression. Not a lot happened. It was pretty depressing. But let's move on to 1941. Oh wow, this is beautiful. If you notice, all of this is actually the 1941 map, but all of these roads actually existed. So you actually see housing developments within this area, but they're not a part of Fayetteville. You actually have Fayetteville State College, which is now currently Fayetteville State University. So now you're seeing that there's an influx of people because of soldiers. Not only that, you have an influx of people actually spending money. So now you have to building accommodations for these people. You also have to set up schools, infrastructure, water, sewage, all of these things. And people need to be pleased. So you have development of not only shopping centers, but you're seeing parks, recreation. You're also seeing hospitals being built, city dumps. The airport now is finally being paved, thankfully. And let's move on to 56. Again, businesses are coming. About 14 public schools are being built inside the Fayetteville city limits. This is 56. As we're actually seeing that push up. Well, Chamber of Commerce is just like we need some city planners out here to actually develop Fayetteville for the future. Once again, Fayetteville State Methodist College, FTCC, is now coming around. The expansion kept on growing until the 1970s. Once again, the Vietnam War, a lot of people didn't actually leave Fayetteville, so we have a growth in, excuse me, in business that's actually happening at this time. All the way up into the 80s, now we're having the building of Cross Creek Mall. We're also having a couple of highways coming in. This is at the time when I-95 actually now has a segment into Fayetteville. We're actually having towards the push past the Cape Fear River now. This is actually good. Now we're actually having to start to think about the future. In 1825, we had single-use homes in the center. They're starting to change that because they need more businesses to come. So now we're seeing Walmart, Kroger, all of these places are actually coming. And now they're trying to change. This is actually the Ramsey Street corridor. They're trying to redevelop that area for commercial use. So now you're seeing a hike in office space. Look at this 90s. The 90s are surging across. So we had nothing before 1970, and all of a sudden we're having general offices that are being built. Population increased from 190, and land use is going from 192. So what is that telling us right now? We are planning for the future for 2030, and Fayetteville is actually growing, but that would have actually declined if it wasn't through the use of annexation and roads actually being present at that time. So just to wrap it up very quickly, uh, Fayetteville actually wouldn't be where it was if it wasn't for the Cape Fear River, for their transportation. Fort Bragg played such an important role in shaping the development of this area. Fayetteville is only going to continue to rise, and they need to plan to accommodate, especially with the things that they're doing now. Why is this research beneficial? It doesn't exist right now. I mean, we can use this for modern mapping. I went down to City Hall, and yes, they have scanned copies, but they don't have anything digitized at this moment. I think it would be very beneficial. List of street name changes as well, and they can start doing this as a 3D active, as not only as a teaching, which would be great, but it's a great way to actually bring in tourism for people to look at the architectural in certain areas, and it's good for tourism. Benefits of research that I found for myself, I learned how to use ARC maps. Thank you so much, Mr. Allen. I learned about the Scottish influence, the importance of Fayetteville, and a greater appreciation for city engineers, and understanding that GIS is not just about geography. I didn't know that city planning and telling history, I could actually use GIS. So this has been an eye opening for me, and I'm so grateful that I've been able to have this experience. Sources and acknowledgments, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So I hope I didn't waste too much of try to keep it nice and sweet. Thank you so much.